Hello, this is Sister Colton here. I'm trying to make sure I'm centered. We are starting another great week, and it's lesson 12. So that means this is our last full regular week, because next week's our conclusion week, and the last day that everything's due is next Thursday night. So this is the last week. We'll have a discussion board and an application activity. You can go into your calendar or even into your folder, your conclusion lesson folder, in order to see the different assignments that are due next week. Your exam is next week and your practice exam. So I had noted in my note this week that you can go into the practice exam. You can take that as many times as you'd like. So that's something you can do to get ready for the final exam. So I hope that with this final week you can put in your all into your application activity. And a reminder that last week our SMART goal that we were supposed to set was about a relationship with a family member. And so make sure that you set that goal last week, but you're working on it this week. So be working on that this week, because at the end of this week, your learning report is where you'll record how that's gone this week. I'm trying to think if there was another reminder. One thing that I want you to be aware of is with any assignments that you have up to this point, if there's any zeros that you have or ones that I've told you, maybe you missed points for either doing it incorrectly or misunderstanding, let me know. I'd love for you to work on redoing those or doing ones that you didn't turn in order to get the grade, at least get some points to help boost your grade to where you want it to be. So let me just talk about giving back. Our outcomes this week, we'd like you to recognize the blessings that you have because of the Lord. So, and acknowledge His hand in your life. Express gratitude for your blessings. Serve others with love. And learn and apply the Making Connections study skill. So that study skill is making connections, how something relates to you. Let's see if I can go into, let me just show you our application activity this week. With this, you're going to read through a talk by President Clark, and he has 5 self-assessment questions. So I want you to read through this. Once you take some time to read through the talk, it's an address he gave at a devotional. Then look at the 5 assessment questions. And this is to identify how maybe you have a little bit of entitlement in your life. And I know sometimes it's hard to admit or to face that, but I think it's helpful when we look at those questions. And with that in mind, then you're going to pick 2 of these items to study. So do you see all of these different ones in blue? You'll click on 2 of those. So I'm going to hold my 2, just 2. But feel free to do more if you want to. And take notes during it so that you can do this assignment when you click start. It's going to ask for many different questions. It's going to be helpful to have those notes available. The other thing that I wanted, let me think if there's something else I want to remind you of. It's drawing a blank, but I will probably remember it and send it out in an announcement. One thing, let me just show you, that I wanted to do this week was talking about prepositions. So Wikipedia, we'll go there. I know it's not the most reliable all the time, but this is a good definition. Just telling you that prepositions, it's a word in the English language that expresses spatial and temporal relations. So it shows, it's really hard to explain, but the placement or the relationship that something has in a sentence. I'm going to show you just a little visual, and I'll take off my screen for a second. This is just a little visual that helps you understand. So in the sentence, the ball is in the box. Some other sentences you might use, let's see if this is, what was the phrase in that? Okay. Nope, it's not wanting to do that. Let's see. In one other example that you might see is, I slept in my bed. Okay. I climbed in the car, or even some might say into the car. Then we have the on. When something's on, it's on top of. So I put the box on the counter, so it's right on top. Okay. Under is, if you'll see, if the box is on top of it, the ball is under the box. Maybe I'm trying to think of something under. I looked under the rug, so that means you're lifting up the rug and looking under it. Behind is kind of like in back of. I stood behind my friend because I was nervous, because I didn't want to be seen. I didn't want anyone to see me. I stood behind the door. In front of. Okay, I stood, sometimes we stand in front of an audience. I stood in front of the class at the gathering. In front of. Above, so that it's almost like the opposite of under, because it's above, it's over something. Let me think, I don't know what this is. Above, the sky is up above, it's above me. The sun shone, that's the past tense for shine. The sun shone above. Below, so those are opposites. There's our opposite. Above and below. Below is a lot like under, so those are very similar. Below is one that you might not hear as often. You won't hear it as much. But she went below the water. She went... It's one that we don't use it often, so not coming as natural for me. The mat is below the car. Then we have between. I'm going to sit, so often we'll say, or she sat in between her two friends. Or I found my shoe in between the wall and my couch. Okay. I actually do have a true story. Yesterday, my daughter got stuck between the wall and the couch. She was stuck in between. She tried to squeeze between a little space and got stuck. Then we have next to. It's also, beside is another word for next to. I don't know, my son won't be able to see the picture. Can I sit next to you at the gathering? It's a question, so I get question mark. So next to, just right next to you. So I hope that helps you. Prepositions are something that you have to just have a lot of practice with in order to understand how to use each of them. It can be confusing because sometimes I'm trying to think of some different examples, but it doesn't always fit what you think it would. But I think the more you read and the more you listen to others using prepositions, that you'll get to know prepositions. And with that, I'll go back to my screen, and I come back. Let me just put my face back there. Oh no, I did that last week. Okay, we don't want that big of my face on the screen. I hope you have a wonderful week, and as you talk about giving back and trying to stay away from being entitled, I think it's something that, like I said, we don't always think that we're acting entitled, but I think you'll discover that there can be slight times that we have that sense of entitlement, and maybe it's just, like it says, creeping in, and we want to do things to not let those feelings of being entitled in. I'll just admit, or as I have done this lesson each semester, I'm always amazed to see little things that I think, you know what, I need to be better at doing this to help me not be entitled. My husband's family is one where they have not as strong of an emphasis in schooling or education as my family, and so I remember when we first got married, I really had to realize school's not for everyone, and that's okay. And I don't, not that I felt I was better for having school, and that sounds awful, but I felt like they didn't understand or see how hard it was for my husband to get through all his schooling and think it was that important. So it was hard for me. But I thought, everyone does different things in life, and we all can find things that make us happy and that work for us. And so there's no reason to even have a little sense of entitlement just because we do something differently than others. And I think as you go through these self-assessment questions, being critical of others, and sometimes we may not even verbalize those, say something that criticizes, but even just thinking it is something we need to get away from. And so I really hope as you read through this, not to say that I think that you're all awful. I don't want you to think that just because you may be able to answer yes to some of these, or even just one of them, because we're not perfect and we have areas to always improve. So I hope that you'll find that, and as you look through 2 of these items to study, that you'll see a way that you can continually improve on yourself and your entitlement. So have a great week, and just after this week we just have one more. So you guys are awesome for sticking in and having such a wonderful semester. I will talk to you next week. Bye. Maybe if I can get it to pause.